Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to the program today. Now, if you've been listening to our program, you'll realize that what we do on this show is we take an individual horror film, doesn't matter what subgenre or what decade that it was produced in, but we take an individual horror film and we kind of discuss and critique and analyze and just have a general conversation regarding this film. Now, what I love to do, I'm the main host, but what I love to do is bring on a special person to assist with each of the different movies. And that special guest will be completely different every episode. We never know who we're going to get. But all I can tell you is that special guest tends to sometimes actually like the movie that we're talking about. I don't know if that is the case today, but we're going to find out when we talk to Dave Watkins. Thank you, Dave, for joining us on the show today. Did you say something, Dave?
Yeah, I was doing an alligator. Didn't work, huh?
No, the audience can't see you, so no, that didn't work.
But I started doing alligator like sound, like
No,
yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it sounds like a bear more. Yeah, I'm here. It's good to go. I'm good to go.
Now, me and Dave, we did discuss the original Alligator earlier in the year, and so we just kind of decided to why not just finish off the franchise, but go ahead and doing the sequel, which has probably never been actually talked about by any other podcast.
Yeah, someone has to have talked about it at some point. But
thing is, it's one of those straight to DVD sequels, and most people don't talk about those. They want to talk about more popular stuff. But on our show, our program, we like to talk about the popular stuff as well as the stuff that maybe not be so popular. So we're going to be talking about Alligator 2, The Mutation from 1991. So
this is almost 11 years after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first one's like 1980, so it's a long time later, the sequel.
Yeah. Which happened in the 90s. If we all remember, the 90s were filled with straight to DVD sequels to film franchises that probably never should have been film franchises, and they almost never had anything to do with the original film in that franchise. They were just standalone sequels. Me and Dave actually talked about like Chud 2, and that has pretty much nothing to do with the original one, and that was like years after that as well. So
well, Alligator, Jaws had 4 sequels, but I mean Alligator could have worked, but they waited like way too long, I think, to do the sequel for this one.
Well, tell us a little bit about your impressions when you first saw it. Or when did you see it? Did you see it when it originally came out or much later?
So really the first time I saw this one was like a couple of days back.
Okay.
So Scream Factory released the original one on 4K, then they released this one as well on, I believe it's on Blu-ray, but I think it does have a 4K transfer to Blu-ray, but I didn't get it at first, and I waited for it to go on sale, and then I got it, and then I was like, you mentioned doing the sequel. I was like, I got it, might as well watch it and talk about it. So this is the first time I saw it, and it's got some interest. This is a film. I've got a lot to say about the script of this movie as far as how it doesn't quite work. But some of it does. It's the weirdest thing because parts of it work and parts of it are like, what is going on with this scene? And it's not even the alligator stuff. The alligator stuff's fine. It's like the other stuff.
The other stuff that has to deal with our big bad, which is Vinnie Brown, played by Steve Railsback, who is kind of like this. I guess I was trying to figure out if he was a gangster trying to do this underhanded deal, or if he was just a real estate mogul trying to do this I wasn't 100% sure. I actually felt like he was like Lex Luthor in a Superman. It has to do with property.
And he's got like a pretty good bit of screen time, but then he's not billed very high. But it's almost like I think all of the characters in this film are very underdeveloped. And I don't think they knew what they wanted to do with these characters, but they all have potential.
But yeah, I kind of got when I rewatched this. Now, so everyone who's listening, I actually watched this when it originally came out on straight to DVD. I've seen it maybe a few times after that. But since I never owned a copy until recently, like Dave, I had never gone back to rewatch it. It's like I didn't own it on VHS, so I only saw it a couple times when it came out, and then just kind of forgot about it. But that being said, as years passed from that, I did know who Steve Railsback is because of Life Force and a plethora of other great movies that he was in, and so he's the first name that comes to mind, other than Dee Wallace, who we all know the stars in everything from freaking The Howling to E.T. to God knows how Cujo. I mean, the list goes on.
It also has Richard Lynch in it as well, who I think he's pretty well known.
Yeah, yeah. Richard Lynch, he's usually a villain in everything he's in.
Yeah.
Is not a villain in this movie, and I had forgotten that when I rewatched. I was like, "Oh wait, he's not the villain in this movie."
But yeah, but I mean, yeah, even but the main character is played by Joseph Bologna, I believe
Mhm.
that's how you pronounce his name. And the only thing I've ever seen him in other than this, and he did a lot of other stuff, but he's in Transylvania 65000,
Yep.
and he got the top billing for that playing the Mad Doctor character. But he's not really the main character in that. He probably should have been third or fourth bill, but he plays a major character. He plays like the main villain of Transylvania 65000.
I remember him mostly as a character actor, so he popped up in a lot of movies. So I was familiar with his face, but not really familiar with his actual like his name. I think this is like the only film I could think of where I could remember him being top billed. When I rewatched it, I was like, oh wait, I remember him. Because it'd been so many years since I saw the movie. Uh,
I tell you, when these credits were coming on though, before the movie started, I was like, wow, like it was him. And then D. Wallace Stone and then Richard Lynch. I was like, okay, this is a pretty good cast, you know. Those are the first three names when it's coming on. I was like, all right, yeah,
yeah, and then eventually they bring up Steve Railsback's name.
yeah.
Like,
It's like something like with Steve Railsback or something like. He doesn't even get the "and" credit. It's like a special appearance by or something. But he's really a pretty big character in
mhm,
the film.
yeah,
But he's not. His character's underdeveloped, but. I don't know exactly what I mean. I know they had to have a villain, like a human villain, like they always do in Chud,
yep.
very similar to Chud. It's like a toxic waste film where the toxic waste has to come from some asshole. Yeah, and they're the villain.
That pretty much is, and similar to the first movie, the alligator gets a hold of this toxic waste that they've been dumping into the sewer system, and he grows to enormous size and starts to wreak havoc right on the weekend that Steve Railsback's character Vinny is trying to sell all this property that he's more or less financed for very little money, but can sell it for a crap ton of money. But in doing so, he's also alienating and pushing out the local Spanish community. They don't really define where they're from. We just know that they speak Spanish, so they could be a plethora of different Spanish speaking community people there, which ends up
Right.
having. Yeah, Dave.
No, no. I
Oh,
mean, no, I'm agreeing with you. I think that there's three different things. There's three different layers to this film, and
yeah,
that's one of the more interesting layers. In the dealing with the Spanish community who are in this area,
yeah.
and they show they're kind of almost like not gangsters, not really gangsters, but they're gang members, and there's some crime in this area.
Yeah, but you kind of get the sense that their type of crime isn't like crime. It's more like protecting their own people type crime. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
and so because by the end of the film, you kind of get them. They're like they bring the entire community together to overthrow Vinny's type of character because of what he's doing to the neighborhood. So for everyone who's probably never seen the film, is one of the things that happens is at the very beginning. Vinny and his goons are dumping stuff in the sewer, but at the same time, these two Latino brothers are also fishing in the local watering pond, which has the population of the fish has been going smaller and smaller and smaller, and the local people are getting desperate and more desperate. Unfortunately, this also causes the alligator to come out for a more food source due to the fact that it's already eaten most of the fish food source. And the
yeah.
brothers, I can't remember the brother's name, but those brothers get killed, and body pieces are left around, and of course like the original Alligator, a body piece is found, and that's how we get David Hodges' detective enrolled in this story because he speaks Spanish and he's able to interview the people who are the witness or they come into the police station saying that the brothers are missing. He speaks Spanish and like the other cops in the precinct, and so he takes the case on, and it becomes a little bit more personal because he knows the people. He knows the people in the neighborhood. He knows all the people. He knows what they represent and what they're doing. So that aspect I really liked on the rewatch. I don't know if I ever really got that watching it in 1991 when I was a kid. I was just wanting to see alligators kill people really back then. But rewatching it now, I agree with that. That layer makes this film a little bit more interesting. But the David Hodges character is not nearly as developed as I would have wished him to be. He just seems
Right.
happened to have a wife who played by Dee Wallace, who happens to know a lot about what is her job exactly? Chemical makeup.
Yeah,
She's
some kind of scientist who I mean, I guess backing that up a little bit,
yeah.
I think his wife it becomes involved with with that part of it because she's able to analyze the DNA from the leg and identify it as some kind of like reptile or whatever. But before that, there's some very frustrating
Oh,
like very frustrating character development in this film. I like character development, but it seems like it's there for the sake of character development, and but they don't follow up on it.
okay.
And one thing between the main character and his wife, when he's first introduced, he wakes up and it's his birthday. He
Mhm.
walks downstairs and then this video comes on and it's like his wife and his son that you never see again in the film are like, "Hey, happy birthday. We're on different schedules, but like here's a video for you." And then he's like, "Okay, cool." And she's like, "Later on, I got a present for you," implying that like it's her.
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Okay, that's kind of interesting, I guess." But it's my wife, so we've done this a few times. But,
Well, the funny
but
thing is that I noticed this on the rewatch is the funny thing about that whole sequence is they say they're on different schedules,
yeah,
but they're not on different schedules
yeah,
because he's working during the daylight hours
yeah. I know.
and not
Yeah,
the night hours like he's supposed to be. It was so weird. I rewatched
yeah,
it. It's like
yeah.
it doesn't
But
make any sense.
apparently he just works all day and all night. So yeah, but yeah, he's on the day shift and she's on the day shift. I mean, that's the weirdest thing because they feel like they had to bring the wife in. It's almost like they combined two characters. It's almost like they had the wife character who is like mad at him for like not being there. And then you have the wife character who is the scientist who's involved with the plot, who knows about the alligator. And it's like they try to composite two characters together and
Mm.
it's like but they never like past once you get past 20 minutes into it, you never go back to the mad wife about him never being there. You never see the son either.
Yeah, you never see the son. I thought that was weird
Yeah.
too. When I was rewatching, I was like, I remember they have a son. So where's the son during this whole movie?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is he at the
yeah.
babysitter? Is he at the home? Where exactly is he?
Right. I really think it should. I mean, it almost to me it seems like it should have been like two characters, but it makes him the main character very uninteresting in a way, surprisingly, and the character that becomes more interesting as it goes on, and the filmmakers apparently knew this as well, is a deputy character who basically idolizes him and wants to get involved, but then ends up like not liking him after he ends up like screwing him over. But then out of nowhere, between 20 and 30 minutes into it, the mayor's daughter's introduced, and there's this like chemistry between her and the deputy that becomes like more interesting than the main character and his wife, and it kind of takes center stage for about 20 or 30 minutes into it.
Oh yeah.
After, yeah, and but both of those characters are much more interesting than the lead and his wife, scientist, who's kind of mad maybe about him not coming. But he's like, he does say he's like, she's like, I want you to be home by 5 o'clock for your present. And then he shows up like later after dark, and she's burned the steak. She left it in the oven, and then he's like eating the steak even though it's burnt, and she's all in some kind of like I guess she's in something skimpy, like some kind of lingerie, which and then she's like, "Oh, you look very nice, but I gotta go." And he talks to her for a few minutes, and she tells him more information about the plot, and he's like, "Oh wow, I gotta go. The plot just rang."
I was like, well, yeah, because he's been working all day. I was like,
Yeah,
well, it's that night, dude. Why can't you just pick that up tomorrow morning? But okay.
yeah. Well, there's an alligator out there. We gotta stop it.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, I agree with you that the deputy, what the heck is that dude's name?
Is it Rick Harmon? I think is yeah,
Harmon,
maybe
Harmon,
Harmon. Yeah,
Harmon,
yeah, yeah,
Harmon, and the and Sherry, Harmon and Sherry. Sherry Anderson is the daughter of the mayor, who actually has a very big role in this film as well as it goes on. Like, there's lots of different layers in that regards, but very few of the characters are developed beyond the Harmon and Sherry's relationship, which is something that you weren't expecting because it's they're not the main character. Um,
yeah,
it starts off as Harmon being like an annoying rookie character, and until he is forced to work with David, then that's when he becomes much more interesting. But he gets all the
yeah,
good lines and he gets all the good scenes. The Harmon
yeah.
character.
Well, the first 30 minutes of it follows the Hodges character pretty closely. It's almost in a way it's very similar to Robert Forster's character in the first one, where he kind of starts to to fill the whole case out and he starts to kind of investigate what's going on.
Hmm.
And but like you were saying before, this thing that kind of annoys me about the character that he knows everybody's names, and it's like he's like there's this like young like Mexican woman in the police station, and her dad is the guy who's died or whatever or gone, but he like happens to know her name
Yeah,
for some reason. It'd be it's like why would he know her name? Then he's like he knows everybody's name for the first 30 minutes. Anybody he comes across, any officer, any person he comes across, he knows their name and he's like he's on it and then he's like on top of that he's like Mr. I'm a perfect like police officer. Not only perfect as far as he's not necessarily a perfect police officer, but he's perfect as far as the personal aspect of it and he even with the kids he's like, hey, the kid's like, I saw an alligator or something in the front, and he comes over instead of being like, kid, you don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, alligator? He actually leans down and talks to the kid and tries to like be on his level, and all that he seems to be in a very almost to me a contrived way. But then he's like his personal life at home is not going too good because he can't connect there.
yeah. No, I
But
agree with you. I thought it was odd too that he knows everyone's name. And I would think that a beat cop would do that, but a detective who just goes in when there's a case, I would think they wouldn't know every character, every person in the neighborhood's name.
yeah.
But that's that could just be the way that it was written to make it easier for everyone as they're making the movie and going through the motions.
But I feel there's a lot of that though going on that and there's not payoffs for some things. Like
Mm.
one other thing that the cop does for the first 30 minutes that he never does again is he'll drive up and just park wherever he wants to park in a place that's not even a parking place and walk in and everyone's like yelling at him. He's just like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
And then he does that several times in the first 30 minutes and then he never does it again. But that's something that I feel like that sort of like thing should have had a comeback on him at some point, But I guess it's more of it's probably trying to show him as a renegade character. Like he'll break the law, but then be like, "Hey, I'm your buddy to the like Hispanic community." Yeah, and then everyone else is like mad. They don't like the Hispanic community because of whatever reason they're gangs or whatever, and like, the other cops don't want to even listen to him. But he'll like park in the wrong spot, walk in the door. It's like he's almost like trying to start a fight with the police department.
yeah. So yeah, well, yes, or he thinks that he's better than the rest of them,
Yeah,
and he does it just to piss them off because
yeah,
all the other cops are telling them he can't park there, and
yeah,
it's to be something that they just tell him all the time, which is funny when you watch it, but you think, it's like when he locks Harmon up in the bathroom,
yeah, yeah.
he like, what did Hodges do this time? Hodges
Yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's like this cop that just kind of does whatever he wants to, and everyone's used to it, which is why he doesn't have a partner.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not because his partners get killed or anything.
Yeah.
His partner, he doesn't have a partner because he makes fun jokes out of people. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know how he has a job really. It's like, what's he doing? You know?
Well, his boss Clarence, that as one of the running jokes in that whole relationship is that Clarence always his boss always tells him when he might be going over the line, might get close to the line, that whole thing, um, throughout the entire film. So obviously, Hodges does strange things like this all the time. But the odd thing about this is the fact that he actually takes this case on to begin with. Uh,
Right.
if he's a really good detective, they never kind of established or played up the part that he cares about the neighborhood enough to take this case seriously. Because it is an alligator. Like
Yeah.
in the first film, it kind of naturally played off like that, but this film it seems much more forced because we don't get to know who Hodges is really. It just seems kind of odd. It seems like it's all kind of plot driven and not so much character driven, and you kind of wonder why. Why is he like any other cop would just say, "Oh, it's an animal attack, throw it off to animal control or a different department. I don't care." But he doesn't. From the very beginning,
Yeah. Yeah.
alligator. Let me go solve this case here. Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe yeah, he is pushing back a lot against any type of authority, and he is the authority, but he does seem to like want to push against anytime someone tells him not to do anything, he wants to do it. It's like a defiant disorder. And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it more, that makes sense. Because if you look at anything he does it during the course of the film, someone tells him not to do anything, he does the exact opposite constantly. Like his wife's like, "Hey, be here by 5 o'clock." He shows up at 8 o'clock. And it's like the cops are like, "Hey, leave the case alone." It's like he's like, "Okay, never mind. I'm gonna like not show up. I'm going to do this case." And it's like, I mean, maybe he senses some corruption in the case, and that's why he becomes really obsessed with it because he sees the which it does is corruption. It's a corruption within. I mean, this is definitely not that deep of a film, but it's
Well, yeah.
but I'm definitely trying to think. Now that we're talking about it, I'm starting to see why what was annoying me while I was watching it. I'm starting to see. I mean, because if you look at that's the only thing. That's the only way to explain it. He has a defiant like
Personality.
personality disorder where somebody tells him not to do some shit. I mean, that's what
He
you
doesn't.
do. That's what you do when you have a defiant you basically don't like authority and authority tells you to do something, you do the opposite. And it
Yeah,
seems like
yeah.
that follows. I mean, that tracks throughout the film.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
um, but which is funny that we've been discussing so much of this character and not as much about the actual alligator thing. Mostly
Well,
because
that's because like most of the film until like for a long time, that's all it deals with. Because I think they're trying to avoid showing the alligator for a long period of time.
oh yeah, yeah, we kind of we see the tail a lot. The tail comes in and it does some damage, and then
Yeah,
the alligator goes off, which is
yeah.
quite hilarious. Because there's like any other horror film of this period, you had that required death by alligator like every 10 minutes or so, but they're not exactly like extravagant kills. Like we don't have like some of the amazing set pieces that we had with the original alligator in this film. A lot of this is closed off or contained within the alligator's nest. Like we see, like the alligator doesn't really get off and go out to the streets and do a whole lot of damage like in the original one. They kept a lot of that either off screen or confined to specific locations because in that nest we see a lot of people get killed in the nest the two times we are in the alligator's nest. So um
But there is a very large set piece at the end. That's the fair.
yeah.
That's a pretty big set piece, and they actually shot a lot of that sewer stuff in the actual sewer.
Oh
Yeah, that's not a set. I mean, there's some very like cool like practical locations in this that are actually locations. And some of them are sets, but like they bust through the wall or whatever. But they actually had those actors go down in the sewer. I saw some interviews with them. They were like, it was disgusting. It's-
That they were using that location so they didn't have to build sets, which I will commend them
yeah,
for.
yeah. But
The
I mean, it's weird because it actually looks like a set. It's like,
nest definitely looks like a set.
yeah. Well, the nest probably is, but there's a lot of times when they're walking through those sewer areas, and that's
The tunnels.
like the alligator hunters come down there or whatnot, and then they all of that's like real sewer for the most part,
Yeah.
unless something real crazy happens, like a wall breaks or something. But
Hmm. So, for everyone who may have never seen the film before, at some point in the
for
mid,
most
like
people,
the sequel, before, at some point, the city and everyone starts to believe Hodges that there is an alligator, and at first, um, Vinny decides to bring in his own alligator expert because he doesn't want to cancel the weekend in which would be his biggest financial windfall. He does not want that to happen, so he wants to bring in his own people to take care of the problem, which is fine for like the mayor and Clarence, who's a chief of police, or but Hodges, he doesn't believe any of that will work. Of course, he has to do his own thing, which glad it does because it brings in a different type of element for this film, which is the alligator hunters, led by Richard Lynch,
yeah.
in a very, I don't know if it's a very effective Southern accent or if it's just annoying as hell.
Yeah, it's there's the alligator hunter in the first one. In both of these films, the alligator hunter doesn't show up until like about halfway through the
Yeah,
film, and they're always kind of well. In the first one, he was definitely at odds against the protagonist, but this one he does not. He's not as hard headed as the one from the original one. He does seem to respond to the main character, giving him more information about the alligator. He doesn't just completely like blow him off and act like he knows what he's doing, despite what the main character says.
yeah. Well, at the first time, and before they go into the nest, the first time, the alligator hunters think it's just like your normal run of the mill alligator, and this is where it becomes interesting for the alligator hunters because when they get into the nest, they see the barrels of the waste byproducts, and then they make it well known to everyone that that's what's down here, and that's what they were not expecting. They were anticipating this being like the normal run of the mill alligator, and of course they're proven wrong, and most all of them die except for Richard Lynch in this sequence. I think two of them survive. Uh,
Yeah, like him and another guy, and the other guy just leaves. Like
and
he
he
was
just
like,
leaves. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
see him again.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But
but after
Kane Hodder plays one of the other guys, his brother or something.
Yes, I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, don't forget to. Yeah, we weren't going to forget to mention that Kane Hodder, which I didn't know was in the movie, was like, wait a minute, I know who
Yeah.
that dude is.
Apparently, he's in the first Alligator too, playing another small part that he's
Oh, really?
uncredited for.
I
But
mean, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
he do I know?
I know. I go ahead.
Yeah, he has an interview on the Scream Factory disc. Kane Hodder does talking about both films, and he was like, they didn't realize it, but I was in the first one too. He's like, I didn't even remember being in it until like later on. He's like, I do so many movies, I didn't remember even. Hey, I think he had such a small part. Is like maybe shot for like half a day or something. But then he he was talking about Richard Lynch, and Richard Lynch, the director of it was it just John Hess says when he met with Richard Lynch, Richard Lynch's face is apparently it was a big he had a burn on his face, and he said his face looked like fake because it was a burn. He had burned on his face, which it doesn't really show that much on camera that much. I guess maybe some crazy makeup, but then Kane Hodder talks. He talked with Richard Lynch, and he felt like they had a connection because they both had
Yeah,
burn scars. So that's interesting about both of that in the interviews on the Scream Factory disc. It was interesting hearing that sort of thing for both of those the director and Kane Hodder.
Yeah, Kane Hodder goes into so anyone who haven't who didn't know this, Kane Hodder wrote his kind of like autobiography book, and he goes into detail about how he got burned in that whole incident, how it affected him and his work and all that type of stuff. It's a really amazing read. I wish I could remember the book's name. But you can, I mean, I think it's the only Kane Hodder book that he's written about his own life, so should be pretty easy to go out there and read. But I've always been a Kane Hodder fan. So I went out and bought and read the book, and when I saw
Yeah.
him in this movie, I was like, "Oh shit! I didn't know he was in this movie." Because he mentions in his book that he's done so many movies as an actor, stunt coordinator, done stunts that he kind
Yeah.
of forgets which ones he's been in.
Yeah.
And
Right,
like,
right. Yeah.
because he's done so many of them. He's a working stunt guy, an actor, so he's done so many of them. But I was having a lot of fun when I saw him in there. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you were in here.
Yeah. And he's got like some lines, and he's got like a, he's not like a small character. He has a pretty cool death scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, when we actually get death scenes with the alligator, they're really cool. And thankfully, in the nest scene, we get several of them at the very beginning. The first time they go in the nest, and then of course they go back to the nest, and there's a lot less of them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and then wait, was that after the Richard Lynch is saved from his first time in the nest, this is where his character and Hodges teams up. And this is after Hodges is already teamed up with Harmon. So it's Harmon and Hodges and Hawkins. Hawkins. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
Hawkins.
had to do that because all three of them start with a freaking H.
Yeah,
Harmon, Hodges, and
yeah.
Hawkins all team up together
Yes.
to rid the area of this alligator that they all believe now because they've all seen, and it's loose because it gets loose from the sewers after they have entered the nest. It decides to find a new stomping ground, so it goes out into the public lake system. I forget what they called it in the movie, and then that's when we
Yeah.
get the sequence that kind of leads up to the big fair sequence, which you're right, it is a pretty big sequence at the end of the film. Um, so it's I don't think
Yeah.
it's really as fun as in the first one, but it's still a big fair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always cool to see a fair in anything, really. I mean, it looks cool, but I think the alligator, yeah, I think we talked about this in Lake Placid and the original Alligator film. It's like an alligator can only do so much before it gets full. Eat a couple of people and it's going to
We
be
haven't discussed
full.
that.
Yeah, but here he's got a big tail, and he likes to whip people with a tail and knock them across the whatever.
You
But
know,
a lot of times he doesn't eat people. He just like hits them with with his tail, or kind of just barges through an area.
in this film, we don't see the whole alligator as much as we did in the first film. We see a lot of the aftermath and the tail in this movie.
Yeah,
Like the tail is like whipping and hitting everybody, especially in this sequence at the very end at the fair. It's effective the way it is edited. Like you don't really you just kind of see the chaos of people running, people dying, people getting hit with a tail, and it all works unless you are looking at it and realize how much less you see of the alligator in this film versus how much you see him in the first film. So
well, yeah. There's a special effect art. One of the special effects artists has an interview on the Scream Factory disc as well, and he said he was brought in. Like they had an alligator that had a lot of mechanical like parts inside of it,
mhm.
and it stopped working.
Yeah.
Like I think it walked like 10 foot and then stopped. So they had him come in and try to do stuff. So they had to like
Oh wow.
he said they ended up having to make the head on. If you look at the fair sequence, they have the head on a dolly. Like you have the camera behind there. They have the head and you have the tail, and they have some real alligators occasionally. They when they did the real alligators, they had them brought into a set, and they shot it like almost like a miniature situation where they shot the alligators by themselves without any real people around for the most part, because
Oh.
they'll eat the shit out of you for real. But
Yeah, alligators for me, unless they're like in the complete wild, seem like very docile monsters only because I've filmed a bunch of them for a documentary in the
Yeah.
wildlife the ones that used to be in zoos and stuff that are now in a sanctuary, and they were very boring to watch because they've always been fed their food. But in the wild, like they don't get fed their food, they gotta go after that shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that it all depends. They could be very fast if they want to be, but for the
Oh yeah.
most part, they're very late. They're very lounged up, but they save their energy, and
Uh-huh.
they could do like a very crazy spurt, like very fast. Like it would like if they saw something they wanted, they'd get it if it was in within their reach, because no one expects them to move as fast as they do when they can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we should
But
go ahead.
yeah, yeah, but that's not how in these alligator films. That's not how. That's not scary. It's scary enough if you I mean, if it's done right, but that's not. These alligators have to be vicious and they have to go after people. And so but at the same time, he doesn't necessarily eat that many people. He does a lot of like hitting them with something or knocking them down. But if you were at a fair and a big ass alligator came walking in there, like that would cause pandemonium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm I if I see alligator, hell yeah, I'm getting the hell out of there. I'm gonna find the nearest place I know that alligator can't get me at.
Yeah.
But this becomes like just a complete panic, and then of course this ultimately leads to Vinny having his henchman killed by an alligator, and then I don't remember his henchman's name, but he's a yeah, he's not
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
memorable. Uh,
Yeah, well, he's a henchman. But he yeah, he tells him to go stop the alligator. I guess one thing that weird about the alligator though is that they can't kill it. They do some crazy stuff to the alligator. They blow it up with dynamite. They do all kinds of crazy stuff to it, and it still keeps coming. And it's like, why? Why is it not dying? I mean, why would dynamite not kill it? But the henchman, yeah, it's still Steve Railsback's character. Vinny sends the henchman. He's like, yeah, go take care of this alligator, and he goes over there and just gets eaten up immediately.
like his bullets, like yeah, the bullets should have penetrated that high of that alligator. I don't care what you're saying, unless it's just a really like a 22 or something like that, really fucking small.
Yeah, because it's not. I mean, the only thing they're saying is going on with this alligator is it mutated from having a toxic waste. But why would it cause it to be so invincible? I don't know. I mean, I understand it getting big, but it almost feel like it needs something else to make some other reason why it's so strong and invincible.
No, I know exactly why they did that. It's strong and invincible, so they can use a rocket launcher to kill it at the end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
That's why.
yeah, but a rocket launcher works, but not dynamite.
No, because I'd forgotten that that's how they killed him in this movie. And
Yeah,
as we were watching, I was like, "Oh shit, that's right."
yeah.
They use a
That's
rocket launcher
yeah,
to
yeah.
kill him. It makes for a very interesting ending. Almost.
Yeah.
Uh, well, we
They have actually have two
we have two
launchers. Like
rocket.
both him and the deputy both get their own rocket launcher.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, though, I wanted to mention how Vinny gets demised.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, he's on a bridge and he gets pushed off the bridge into the water. And if for some odd reason the alligator decides to enter back into the lake after he's gone on a spree inside the carnival, just so he can go eat Vinny up.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think he's actually eaten anybody though within all that walking
I
through the
don't.
carnival. But right before that Vinny thing, that scene is so contrived. But Vinny's walking out, and he comes against the Hispanic gang, and
Yeah,
like the one gang member who's more likable comes up to him, and he points a gun in his face or something. Or does he point a gun in the other guy's face? I think he points a gun in his face. Actually, Vinny does. And they basically block the bridge, and they're not letting
yeah.
him pass. And he all of a sudden gets out a gun, and he's like, "Screw you" to him. And then the cop guy shows up, and he's like, and he's trying to, and in a situation when somebody's got a gun pointed at somebody, you don't like get aggressive with him. He comes up, and the Hodges character is just like starts getting real aggressive instead of trying to talk him out of trying to shoot the guy, and then luckily it works out because then he tries to. I think he goes to shoot somebody, then they all jump on him and throw him into the water. But it's a really contrived scene. I wish that Vinny character was a little more. There's some more, a little more layers to him. There's also that really ridiculous scene where he shoots the mayor, like real contrived on the Ferris wheel. They're on the Ferris wheel,
Yeah.
and then the mayor's like, this is a scene where you see this in films all the time where like the the character decides to stop being clever. Like if you're the mayor and you're being manipulated by this gangster, all of a sudden out of nowhere you're on an enclosed Ferris wheel, you can't escape. That's the good time to like suddenly man up and tell the guy go screw himself. Yeah, it's like the best time to do that would be like you're nowhere near him and you call him on the phone and tell him screw you, you're done. Yeah, yeah, it's like people they don't like think about it. Like this is a dangerous guy. He knows he's dangerous,
Yeah, because
and
he just
instead of
killed
like
Clarence.
yeah, yeah,
He ran
and
him off the
instead
road.
yeah, 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 and instead of like leaving, I mean, to me, it's like you got to play it smart. I mean, obviously for dramatic purposes, the mayor's like, "I'm done, man. You're going down. Screw you." And it's like the best thing to do is to play ball briefly. The guy turns his back, get out of there,
Hmm.
and go do what's going to really be more effective than just confronting him by yourself. And if you're going to confront him, do it in front of a bunch of people, not on a Ferris wheel where he could just turn around and shoot you for no reason.
Well, the funny thing is
But
that go ahead. I want you to finish your
yeah,
thought.
it was a cool shot. I mean, I'm sure they're like, and this is pretty impressive. They have this fair location. This thing looks awesome, and it was a pretty cool shot of the Ferris wheel. But it's just annoying to me that's how it went down.
Yeah, because essentially what happens is he shoots him on the seat in the Ferris wheel, and then when he gets off the Ferris wheel, I guess they don't realize that the guy is dead right then and there, and that the guy who just got off of the Ferris wheel with him is
Yeah,
shot him. I was
yeah,
like, "You're in a confined place." I'm like, "What, dude?
yeah,
That's the worst place to shoot anyone
yeah.
or confess yourself to." Yeah, it was. Yeah,
And it's like, and then why were they on the Ferris wheel to begin with?
yeah. They keep.
Yeah,
I, I noticed that too when I was rewatching. I was like, "Why are these two grown men on a Ferris wheel to begin with?"
yeah, yeah.
So they should be like in an office somewhere, staying as clear away from that whole bear as possible. They know the alligator might show up there. Why the fuck are they even there to begin with?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's part of the movie, and obviously they had to make the guy like a villain. But yeah, a lot of it didn't make sense, and it's actually a lot of that makes it kind of entertaining because it's just so a lot of this stuff is just to me mind numbing, like some of the choices. But
Yeah,
but at the same time, this is a made for TV movie, really is what it was. But there are even though with every choice like that, so I think the Ferris wheel thing may have been a director's choice, but there's a lot of choices that were from the script, and I think the script to this is the major problem. I don't think they quite knew what they wanted to do with the script. The director has an interview on the Scream Factory disc. He's a pretty laid back guy, and he hasn't done that many other things. He did Watchers, the one with Corey Haim in it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but before this, um, but he had a different idea for the script, but they ended up not being able to do that. So I think it was kind of like pigeonholed, and it was probably as they were going, they probably had to like develop it as they were going. That's why a lot of it's very like a lot of it doesn't make sense character choice wise. And the bad thing about it is it spends so much time with characters and trying to develop characters and then switching between main characters that to avoid having to show the alligator, but at the same time, they're just so underdeveloped.
Yeah. No, no, I agree with you on that one. Um, I agree with you on that, and I'm not 100% convinced that the alligator sequences that we have are entertaining enough to sustain the film. Now,
Yeah,
that's where I want to get to because essentially this is called Alligator 2, the mutation, but we spend very little time with the alligator, and a lot of what we do see is, like I said, people getting hit with the tail and dying, or like the bum who was killed earlier in the movie gets hit with the tail, and then they cart him off to the hospital, and the first thing he tells Hodges' character is, Who's a giant alligator? Yeah. And of course, Hodges just tells, his boss Clarence, yes, I have a witness. It's the old wino.
Yeah, yeah,
He says
yeah,
it's an alligator. And I was like,
yeah,
the old it's like
yeah,
he says it so nonchalantly. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, you should know it's if a wino's your witness, you probably need a better witness or something.
yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then we get to after we get to the last big battle sequence between the alligator and Hodges and Harmon, who then wait, do they? I can't remember if no, I think this is after they lose Hawkins. We skipped over. I think we skipped over. I think Hawkins and when they. I think that before they had Hodges has a confrontation on the bridge with Vinny and them. I think they go into the river first, right?
No, the Vinny guy gets killed first
Oh, is it
before the
Vinny
Hawk and
guy?
stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like and then there's like more after that when they just keep going after the alligator. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, they kind of like it was funny. I was like, I actually looked at this for the time because basically the mayor gets killed, he gets shot on the Ferris wheel, and then uh, the mayor's daughter and D. Wallace Stone come up and they're like, "Oh my God, the mayor's dead," and it's almost not for the next 15 minutes. Like the Hawkins, Hodges, and was it Harmon, like go after the alligator, and then you don't see the women characters again until after they have sorted that out, and
yeah,
they come back out triumphant, and the women are there to greet them and be happy about it. Even though
yeah,
the one girl's like dad has been killed by the alligator. It's I mean not by alligator by the Vincent guy. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah. But yeah, yeah, you're right. I had forgotten that after Vinnie Brown is killed by the alligator, Hawkins, Hodges, and Harmon go out into the middle of the lake to try and get the alligator. I'm not sure how exactly they expect. I
Yeah.
think is this when they had do they have dynamite? I think they have dynamite at this point, or something. I can't remember why they
They,
just go out into the boat and
yeah.
try
They
and
don't. I don't think they have a very good plan. I don't know
okay.
what they're thinking. I don't. I was a little confused about what they were doing, but there's an extended 15-minute sequence that it does involve some very impressive helicopter stuff, which wouldn't be done now. But the actor Joseph Bologna like actually himself is like gets on the helicopter. It's not a stunt double, and
Oh.
he's hanging on to the the spoke of the helicopter or the bottom of it, so they pull him up. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah. After after we get at that whole sequence where we get the alligator attacks their boat, and of course then he attacks Hawkins. Hawkins gets killed, and then we have helicopter rescue, which is you're right. That is impressive. The helicopter rescue with Harmon and Hodges, and of course brings them back to land. And they have to go back after the alligator, who for some reason is now going back to its nest again.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They figured that out, don't they? They're like, yeah. There's some dialogue about that.
Yeah,
They're
there's
like,
some dialogue
yeah,
about that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
still
yeah,
just
yeah,
funny. It's like,
yeah.
well, if I was the alligator and I was in the lake, why don't you just go down to the lake for a little, bottom of the lake for a little while and chill?
Yeah,
This alligator is getting around really fast.
yeah, yeah. That's when they show
Um,
back. That's where do they get those bazookas from anyway? The helicopter
the
people have them or
helicopter, they got
something?
it for the helicopter. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they get all this equipment from the helicopter, and then of course now they're gonna go back to the nest. And this is actually the most lackluster scene because they go into the nest and Harmon and Hodges with their bazookas now. That's about all they have because
Yeah.
they know everything else isn't going to kill this damn thing. They go out there and the alligator is going really slow through the nest towards them. And Harmon, of course, shoots his bazooka first and misses. And then the alligator is still coming really slow towards them. And then Hodges pulls out his and blows it up from the head onto everything else because you see that whole the head part blow up as the bazooka hits it. And I was like, wow, it's a little lackluster because the alligator's still going so fucking slow.
Yeah, yeah.
But
The head blows up, but it's like to me, it's like what? How the bazookas blow it up, and then other stuff don't blow it up. It's-
it was an exciting way to end the movie. The
yeah,
alligator is not doing anything, but it's good that we just have a big explosion that
yeah,
happened at the very end. Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then we get to the scene you're talking about where the ladies finally come back in. The Sherry and Dee Wallace's character come back in and they give their men a big hug and a congratulatory thing.
yeah,
Which is yeah, I guess that was typical in '90s movies or not because that
yeah. What's even worse though about that is the crowds around and they're all fucking clapping and shit like they knew what happened. You know?
oh yeah, that's right. Like they knew what happened. I didn't even think about that. I did
Yeah,
not even think about it. Yeah, they're clapping. They're clapping as though they knew what was happening.
yeah.
Oh my
Like,
god.
it was like it's funny because it's like when you see the close-up shot of them before they start walking through the crowd, like the people around them aren't clapping. You got people like there's a woman standing there holding like a fair like thing that she wanted at the fair with some kind of pink stuffed animal, and all these other people around like just not clapping. And then there's the wide shot while they start to walk, and everybody's just clapping like, "Yay, you guys did it! You killed the alligator! Into the movie!"
It is the end of the movie as soon as the one gang member decides pull that sign down. Vinny's
Oh
dead.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Or
he's like,
Brown's
yeah, just pull
dead.
it down. Yeah, yeah,
That was quite funny. I was not
yeah,
expect. I like I said, I hadn't seen the movie really since it really came out. So rewatching, I was like, oh, that is quite funny as shit. Uh, but
yeah,
that's the way the film ends. This is an odd film to actually critique and analyze, but good to discuss because it's such an oddly written film and the way it was executed. Like for me, it just didn't have enough alligator scenes in it. Like the first one, or not as effective as alligator scenes as the first film.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a very bizarre film, and I really think it has like it's like almost it goes three different. It switches between main characters sometimes, and it doesn't like necessarily pick the right main character. I don't think.
mm,
For it. I mean, because I think the Harmon deputy character, his relationship with the mayor's daughter is more interesting than the other guy, and his wife and their like drama for the first 30 minutes, which turns into non-drama, and I don't know. I mean, it's some very odd writing going on here. I don't think they quite knew what they wanted to do with the characters.
yeah,
But I do like the fair itself. I do like that sequence. I like some of the sequences, like the helicopter stuff is impressive. And I,
yeah,
I was thinking like once they start kind of getting into the alligator stuff, it becomes a little better. There's a very odd scene in the first 30 minutes when they go to like this wrestling ring and they see these guys wrestling and then
yes.
there's like and then the daughter, comes in there and sits down and talks with the Vinnie Brown character, and she's like, she seems okay with him at first, and then he starts talking about how he has the fight fixed and all that, and real villainy, and then she gets mad at him and slaps him. But that it's like her and the mayor. It's like I guess that's a trait of their family. Like they don't just like they can't just like wait until later when it would be more effective. They just go ahead and get mad and slap him, or the mayor's like on the Ferris wheel trapped, and he's just like, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm mad at you. You're done.
Well, I think it was an odd choice to do a wrestling match. Like one of Vinny's side hustles is this wrestling thing that he does. I was like, that's weird. So he goes from real estate to wrestling.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's crazy how much Vinny's in it, and it's such an underdeveloped character, and it's just. But I wish there was some kind of layers to it because at first I thought maybe there'd be some kind of layers to it because he does call the alligator hunters in,
Yeah.
and he does seem to be somewhat concerned for a little while until it's like people start really like forcefully playing their hand against him, saying that he's done and they're going to out him. And then then he like loses his fucking mind.
Well, yeah, because I think some of the underdevelopedness is what exactly is his deal with all the toxic waste that he's dumping. How does that play into his whole real estate thing? How many different other
Yeah,
side hustles does he have?
yeah,
It's one of those. It's an odd thing, you know.
yeah. Very hands on. He's actually standing there as they're dumping the toxic waste, making
Yeah.
sure that they do it right.
Yeah, I think that's just a product of the right. I think a lot of this movie is a product of the way the writers wrote these type of movies back then because they were straight to video films that didn't have to. They played to the lowest common denominator. Like
Yeah,
and we'll see this in more, and we've seen this in some straight to video sequels already that we've discussed this year, and I'm sure we're going to continue to see this as we delve deep into those other straight to video films that came out in in the 90s and late 90s. So I'm sure we're going to see lots of them. And I think Dave, you're one of the few people who have decided to volunteer for doing these movies.
yeah. It's I mean, I don't know. I mean, this movie was definitely not what I expected it to be. It was, I don't know what I was thinking with it, but it was, I like the first one pretty good, but this one, I don't know. It definitely was not what I was expecting as far as the way that the plot went.
Okay.
The way it was so unfocused on the characters and stuff like that. But
And I wonder if that's part of the product of its time too, because like when I grew up watching this, I didn't really see a lot of that in there. It was just a movie that wasn't nearly as good as the first one, so I never bothered to go back and rewatch it. It was a straight to video flick. It didn't look nearly as polished as the original one, and like I said, I saw the alligator a shit ton more in the first one than I did in this one, and then I just kind of forgot the movie. Uh,
right, right.
we've discussed in previous episodes Chud 2 and how much I said I watched that when it originally came out, and then I completely forgot about it until we did a episode on it. I had to rewatch it, and I say, oh, I've forgotten half this fucking movie. Oh, I guess
Yeah.
this is what's in it. It's different. But
Well,
I
Chud 2 was a very lot different than the original movie. This one's very similar to the other movie in lots of ways, but it's almost like it trying to remake the original movie, but then they not really. In a way, they try to I mean, the original movie had some funny stuff in it too, like when the main character suddenly gets with that reporter or whatever she is.
mm-hmm.
I think there's like they kind of pigeonholed the main character here, already having him have a wife to begin with, so you're not able to have that that part where he meets a new girl and he becomes like into her because he's already kind of got a wife, and so you can't really do that romantic thing with that character.
Mm. No, you might have a point there. I think you do have a point there. I think that's probably why they gave Harmon that whole aspect where he's meeting the daughter for the first time. It would have been a better aspect for the main character to have that as opposed to like the secondary character.
And I almost felt like, even though this is completely wasn't it, but when he sees that like young like Hispanic girl at the beginning and he knows her name, to me that felt like there's some good chemistry going on between her and him for a minute there. And I was like, there's something like he knows her name. Why does he
Yeah.
know her name? But apparently he knows everybody's name. It's like going into Cheers or something.
What a hell of a reference there. Oh, Jesus. So do you have any other final words for this film, Alligator 2? Anything else that we have to touch on that we haven't touched upon yet?
I think we covered everything I had notes on. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so before I we kind of get to rating the movie, I do want to make note of the fact that, and we've said this several times in this episode, and we said it in the Chud 2 episode, among other episodes, and we're going to keep saying it throughout the life of this program, our show, is that the 90s were the 90s were a time for straight to video sequels to a lot of popular movies. I won't say franchises because this is the only sequel to the original Alligator, just like Chud 2 is the only sequel to Chud. And it was
Right.
straight
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we have some other ones on tap for the rest of the year, and that we'll get to. But the thing is, these movies were kind of they're not like playing towards the highest common denominator. We
Yeah.
found a lot of problems with Chud 2 because it was a straight to DVD film. But to be honest with you, it's a straight to DVD film, and we want to ask you if you were entertained by the film, because in all likelihood, that's really why these movies were made. Like, they weren't trying to make highbrow horror movies when they make these straight to DVD films. They're more or less trying to tap into why people like the first one and just kind of entertain them. So I'm going to ask you, Dave, did this tap into any of those type of feelings? Did you get an idea that you would watch this because you liked the first one? If you liked the first one, I mean that's
I
the
like the first
real
one.
crux of this
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. I like the first one for sure, but yeah, I was kind of like, I was at first I was intrigued by it, and the more I watched of the film, the less I liked it, even though I did like the fair stuff.
Okay,
But
I'm not.
I think there are parts in the middle of the film that I like more than the actual finale. I like the character ideas that they had in there, like the idea of the deputy and the mayor's wife. I mean, not the mayor's wife, the mayor's
Mayor's daughter.
daughter. I think the chemistry between those characters was great, and I like that. And I mean, we're watching it's a horror movie, but you still want to introduce some characters in there that you care about, and you care about those characters. The stuff between the main detective and his wife annoyed me, I like the idea of Steve Railsback's character, but I would like to see a little bit
Depth.
more dimension, yeah, a little bit more depth to that character, and a little more self-preservation, and less like recklessness with the character.
No,
I mean, he's pinned down, but it just seemed like it was just not. It was like most of the stuff that happened seemed it was happening because the plot,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I'll agree with you on that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you the question, because for me, rewatching it, I had fun just watching these actors that I am familiar with in this straight to DVD sequel to a film. I've seen the first Alligator, I don't know how many times. I'm gonna mention like Chud, the original Chud and Alligator. I'd watched them a ton of times when I was a kid growing up. I haven't really taken the time until this program to delve back into rewatching those films. But this film does not really hold a candle to the original one. It has some interesting concepts and interesting actor choices, but it's a
yeah,
it's
yeah,
diminishing returns when it comes to straight to DVD flick. And that's fine,
yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
what I don't want is something that's so god darn horrible for a sequel, and we will get to some of those maybe one day. But because I don't always like to mention, well, I'm gonna go ahead and mention some of those straight to DVD sequels that's just so bad you should avoid, like what is it? I think it's Day of the Dead 2 Contagium. God
oh, geez.
awful. You just need to
Yeah,
avoid those. Or, the
yeah,
Day of the Dead remake, which actually had a good cast and good direction, but it was a horrible movie. 976 Evil 2. I mean, there's just so many of these movies out there. And you mentioned Watchers
yeah.
being directed by John Hess, but
Yeah.
we're gonna not mention Watchers 3 or Watchers 4.
Which one of them had like was it Mark Singer in it, didn't it? Like
All right, the
what
second
Watchers
one,
too?
Watchers
Yeah,
2
yeah,
has Mark.
yeah,
See, I've seen all those
yeah,
movies. I actually like the first two.
yeah,
And each of them had a character actor as a star. Like Mark Hamill's the star of Watchers 4. And
yeah. Shit.
I
I
can't
didn't even know they made four of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen the first two. Yeah,
Yeah, there's four of them.
yeah,
Watchers 3 is like Predator with a
yeah.
watcher.
Oh,
It's like
geez.
so
Yeah,
bad it's ridiculous.
yeah,
But these movies were like the 90s. The 90s were littered with these straight DVD sequels that
yeah,
no one ever talks about. They don't even mention them. You didn't even know there was a Watchers 3 and 4. Which means that
yeah,
we probably need to put them on the program so you can finally get around to watching them.
yeah, yeah. Watch them. We need to do the first two first, I guess. Yeah,
If we get around to those two
yeah,
on
yeah,
our list. Um
yeah. I don't think they've had decent releases. I haven't seen anything, but if they release those, that's what they need to do. They need to release them in good quality. I'll watch them then. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think there's just a DVD copy of Watchers 1 and 2. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Those two at the very least need to have good versions of them put out.
yeah, unfortunately it's an out of print double disc. I know because I was looking for it myself.
Yeah, yeah,
Watchers 4 you should still be able to find on DVD, but that's a the movie looked like shit on VHS when I saw it. It still probably looks like shit now.
yeah.
I watched it once, it was enough. Well, it's kind of like Alligator too. I like maybe seen it twice before we rewatched it for the show, and I never
Right.
went back to it. It just wasn't that,
Yeah. And
But
this actually looked pretty good as far as the way that it looks. The Screen Factory, like
you're
I think it's a 4K transfer. It's on Blu-ray, but it looks good. But it's
okay.
the movie's very befuddling to me generally. It-
All right. So, as you say that, I'm going to ask you because we do a scale of 1 to 5 for each movie that we kind of talk about, and 1 being very poor, 5 being excellent. Where on the scale, Dave, would you put Alligator to the Mutation?
I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
You give it two
Uh,
and a half stars.
yeah, I give it 2.5. I think the cast is pretty good. I think that it's baffling to me the whole, and that's kind of what part. I guess it does have a fan base apparently, but and some of the alligator stuff looks cool, and I like the fair stuff. I like the sewer stuff. So
I give it a 2. I give it a 2. I think I gave it a 2 when I originally saw. I would have given it a 2 when I originally saw it.
yeah,
I do like the cast for this one. I've seen a lot of alligator movies and a lot of crocodile movies, and a lot of bad ones at that, because there has been a ton of bad ones. This one at least is entertaining, and I like the cast.
yeah,
The cast doesn't get much to do in this film, other than,
right.
Richard Lynch, who loves to chew scenery in this movie. He just loves to chew it in
Yeah,
this movie. He's so good. Uh,
yeah,
other than that, I'll give it a 2.
yeah. That makes sense.
All
I mean,
right.
a little generous for me, but I mean, I give it 2.5. But it's
That's fine. That's
yeah,
fine. All right. So I want to thank you, Dave, for joining us in Conversation in Horror to discuss this film, Alligator 2: The Mutation, from 1991. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed our conversation about this movie. I hope that you check out all of our previous episodes. We have a plethora of episodes based on many different films, including the very first Alligator. So you probably should check that out. We did that earlier this year. What we would love for you to do is to like, share, follow, subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app, Spotify or YouTube, so you never miss an episode. Regular episodes are every Wednesday at 8 a.m. And we have special themed months where we put special episodes on Monday at 8 a.m. So make sure to check that out. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we want to wish you a pleasant day. And don't forget to leave us some comments. We would love to know what type of films that you would like us to do in the future. Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.